I used to love photography. I'd take my camera everywhere, capturing landscapes, street art, even strangers in passing. But after what happened last year, I don't take pictures anymore. In fact, I don't even own a camera. It started when I bought an old film camera at a thrift store. It was a Nikon FE2, vintage, still in perfect condition. The store owner gave me a weird look when I bought it. He hesitated before ringing it up and muttered something like, "Be careful with that one." I didn't ask what he meant. I figured he was just trying to sound mysterious. That night, I loaded the camera with fresh film and went out for some night shots around my city. I live in a quiet town, so the streets were nearly empty. I snapped photos of old buildings, street lamps, and alleyways. It was peaceful, but something felt off. Every time I looked through the viewfinder, I felt like someone was watching me. I shrugged it off and kept shooting. When I got home, I developed the photos in my darkroom. At first, they were exactly what I expected. Moody shots of empty streets and dimly lit alleys. But then, I noticed something strange. In one of the alleyway shots, there was a woman standing in the distance. She wasn't there when I took the picture. She had long, wet hair, her head tilted downward, and her arms hanging limply at her sides. Her face was hidden. I thought maybe it was just a glitch in the film or a light exposure issue. But then, I flipped through the rest of the pictures. She was in every single one. Even in photos where I was sure I had been alone, she was there, standing in the shadows, sometimes closer, sometimes farther away, but always watching. I felt a chill run down my spine. Maybe someone had been following me, but how could she have appeared in photos where I was completely alone? I checked my apartment windows, my door locks, even under my bed. Nothing. I told myself I was overreacting and forced myself to go to sleep. I woke up at 3:13 a.m. to the sound of shuffling. It was coming from inside my apartment. My heart started pounding as I reached for my phone. The room was pitch black, but I could hear the faint sound of footsteps moving closer. I turned on my bedside lamp. Nothing. The apartment was empty. But when I looked toward my desk, my camera was sitting there, open, with the film pulled out and scattered across the floor. I swear, I had left it in my bag. I picked up the film carefully, hands shaking, and inspected the negatives under the light. And that's when I saw it. The last photo taken was of me, lying in bed, asleep. I felt my stomach drop. I had been alone all night. No one else had the camera. No one else could have taken that picture. I didn't sleep after that. I sat in my living room with the lights on, staring at the camera, waiting for something to happen. Nothing did. The next morning, I drove straight to the thrift store to return it. But when I walked inside, the store looked different. The shelves were empty. The counter was dusty. It looked like it had been abandoned for years. I stood there, confused, until a man from the shop next door walked in. "Are you lost?" he asked. I told him I had bought a camera here just yesterday, but now everything was gone. His expression changed. "This place has been closed for over a decade," he said. I felt cold all over. I tried to argue, tell him it wasn't possible. I even pulled out my phone to show him the receipt. But there was nothing there. No charge, no record. Like I had never been there at all. I still had the camera in my hands. I stared at it, and for the first time I noticed something carved into the bottom. Property of Lillian Vaughn. That name sounded familiar. I Googled it as soon as I got home. Lillian Vaughn had been a photographer, one who went missing 20 years ago. She was last seen at night, taking pictures in an empty alleyway downtown, the same alley I had photographed. I tried to throw the camera away. I smashed it, burned it. But every morning, I'd wake up, and it would be right there on my desk. I finally moved to a new apartment far away and never touched another camera again. But sometimes, in the dark, I hear shuffling. And sometimes, when I wake up in the middle of the night, I swear, I see a figure standing at the foot of my bed, watching, waiting. And in the morning, there's always a single photo left on my nightstand, a picture of me, asleep.